And good morning, everybody. We are here. I'm glad to be back. I had to take last week off, so Roy got to do the show by himself. But we're going to talk this week about how to spend your money right after this.
I want to be your disability rep.
Well, Happy New Year. I haven't got to tell you Happy New Year yet.
Yeah,
We're
thanks,
kinda
you too.
A couple weeks deep, I know, but yeah, it's been kind of an interesting start. We moved Jack into College of the Ozarks last Monday, which is why I wasn't here, but yeah, spending money. So what do you got to tell us about that? It sounds like Bruce's topic.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you're fortunate you didn't get to move in this weekend.
Amen.
That's for sure. Yeah. So, spending money and how it relates to your disability case was going to be our topic for today. So not just how to spend your money in general. There's lots of ways to do that. And anyone who's watching who wants to spend it on me, that'd be fine too.
Sure, yeah. We got lots of ways you can spend some money.
But no, one of the things that we see in medical records a lot of times are folks that are non-compliant with their medication. So you're not taking your diabetes medication, or they're not getting their inhalers filled, for example. But then you start seeing things in the medical record that show other ways that they're spending their money. And it's hard not to look at that as though you're putting a priority on your non-health spending as opposed to your health spending. And so something for a long time that we've looked at, of course, is alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, right? If you're smoking weed twice a day and you're not getting your inhalers filled, it kind of draws into question how bad really is your breathing issues, for example, or are your breathing issues, for example. But we see other things that pop up in the records too. You see folks that take trips, you see folks that pick up pets, maybe they buy a new dog, for example. You see a lot of those kind of things pop in the record, and again, you look at that compared to the need for the medication, and you scratch your head, and you wonder why we're not putting a priority on our health.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, as I used to counsel landlords back in the day, I put up a slide of a room filled with, an ashtray was overflowing with cigarette butts and a room that was just full of empty beer cans. And I used to tell landlords, it's not that your tenants don't have the money to pay your rent. They're choosing to spend it on something else. And I think you're hitting on that same point here. And I go on time, it's about change. And so you have to change their priorities. And so, I get that is telling, though. Where people spend their money tells what their priorities are.
Years ago, we worked for San Johnson Joplin when the Sisters of Mercy ran that facility still. The nuns would review charity applications, and they'd go through, and if you had a cable or internet bill, they would say, wait a minute, you can make a payment towards your hospital. And so there are folks out there that still have this kind of rigid thinking that you have limited funds, you need to be dedicated on spending those on the things that help your health the most.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. When you see all of that, just the choices that you make kind of reveal all of that stuff.
And another thing that pops up a lot of times too is the care that you get, right? And so if you've got a disabling back condition, but you're not going to the doctor, but you pop in for the cold or the flu, or you go in for a urinary tract infection, all things that require medical care, don't get me wrong, but you're finding the money to go in for those nuisance conditions, but then you're not getting care for your major disabilities. And Social Security looks at that. We did a video there in the office about whether or not you could qualify for disability for the flu. Well, you really can't. Unless it's just something crazy. But that treatment for the flu can certainly hurt your case overall if you're not getting your knees or your back or your counseling done, for example. There's lots of things we can go into the doctor for that are less important than the psychological counseling that we need, for example. And if you're putting that side by side, everyone wonders again, why are you spending your money on seemingly inconveniences as opposed to major issues.
Well, I think this kind of dovetails with a lot of topics that we've talked about before that you brought up, which is if your medical condition isn't your priority, if by your lifestyle, if you're not demonstrating that's your priority, if you're not, even if you're getting your meds, if you're not taking your meds, if not you're not doing your physical rehab, if you're not doing everything you can to get healthy, why should other people help you?
Yeah.
If you're not willing to do the work yourself, why are you asking somebody else to do it for you?
Yep, and I write it in my summary of records all the time. If they're not putting a priority on it, why would anybody else? So unfortunately, it may not be fair, but it is kind of reality.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of other misunderstandings. As I worked with people in my prior life, I had this was a recent case I was working with a mom, and one of the reasons she was separated from her kids was her drug use, and she said, "Well, I'm going to get my marijuana card." This is when you had to have the card. I'm like, that's not fixing everything. It's the fact that it's legal doesn't mean it's right or it's okay.
Right.
And you're kind of running in the same situation there.
Yeah.
It's right. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not the best choice in your situation.
And for those out there watching, or those folks that are clients or want to be clients or filing for disability, think of it through this prism that if you were about to go to someone's house to loan them money and you showed up and there were Amazon boxes everywhere, how would you feel about it?
Yeah.
And it's the same sort of a thing that's being done at a different level.
Yep. Nope. Totally get it. If you've got more questions, give Roy a call. His number's up there on the screen behind us, 417-812-6698, or scan the QR code. It'll take you right to his website. We'll be back next week with more Disability Guy.
I want to be your disability rep. Because it gets cold or snows.
Yeah.
I wish it did.
That's the opinion of an employee, not an employer, right there. If your paycheck stopped,